Hi, I'm Alison from A&M Sugarcraft. I'm going to show you many different aspects of making and decorating cakes. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a train cake. Basically you start off with two 9-inch square sponge cakes, roughly about an inch, inch and a half tall. And here's the recipe that I used to make these cakes. Step 1, just spread a small bit of buttercream onto the board so that the cake has something to stick to. Step 2 is to put your first layer of cake onto the board, just on top of the buttercream that you've spread on it, and then put a nice layer of buttercream on top of that part. Step 3, take your next layer of cake and spread it with jam, and put the jam side down onto the buttercream. So that goes on like so. This is where I'm going to start the shaping of the cake. Step 4, this next layer has a slight slant to it, just along there, so just mark that on one side. Mark along there so you get it equal, and then mark the same side. Remember, you need to leave a space for the front of the engine, so just mark there, and again the same distance from the edge on there. Cut down completely through that layer on there, and then gently on the diagonal like that. Do exactly the same on the other side. And that's the start of the shaping. Step 5. So next you put the next layer of buttercream. Then put the next layer of jam on. And then place that on the top there. Now this part is going to be the shape of the funnel of the train. So what you need to do, again, mark that level with that, and that level with that. Now that is going to go back to about so far, which is where the driver's cabin will start. Just gently mark out with your knife. Make sure you've got roughly the right shape and size that you want, and then all the way through that one layer and take that off. Do that on both sides. So just take the corner off like that, and that. Okay, now the final part of that is only a very small part to build up the driver's cabin. So what you need to do is just cut a rectangle, probably about half the size of that, and then we layer the next part on. Okay, so then you've got the final layer of jam just on that small piece, and there you've got the basic train shape. Just to recap, what we've done so far is shaped each layer as I've put it on, filled it, layered it the next one on, and cut it to shape as in the photograph. So step 8, just going to trim the front and the back just to make sure you've got a nice smooth edge like so, and so you get rid of all the lumps and bumps that you can get with a sponge where it shrinks. Step 9, is to do the buttercream mask all over the cake. Now this has a couple of reasons for doing it. First of all, you'll need something for the sugar paste to stick to, and also it's almost like using polyfiller. If you have got any little holes, gaps, anything like that, the buttercream will smooth it off nicely. So just basically spread it on all the surfaces of cake. Don't worry about it being too untidy. Once it's all done, we'll tidy it up. As you can see, the whole of the cake is covered with buttercream. Looks a bit rough at the moment, but we are going to smooth it all off. Okay, just smooth along all the surfaces, like so. Try and get the edges fairly clean. So the buttercreaming is now finished, it's all completely covered. We're now going to move on to covering with sugar paste. We're going to be using two main colours, the dark green for the engine and then the black for the detail. You can get sugar paste from most supermarkets, but you'll generally find you'll only get the white or the ivory colours. If you want to get the ready coloured ones, you really need to go to a sugar craft shop. Right, so get your sugar paste, dust the surface over with a little bit of icing sugar just to stop it sticking to the surface. Don't use too much because it can make the sugar paste dry out. Take your rolling pin and roll out your sugar paste. Now what you're looking to do is fairly thin. You don't need a huge chunk of sugar paste. Keep it moving all the time with a little bit of icing sugar just to stop it sticking. There we go. We're going to need 1 inch all around the bottom. So just with a knife, do a couple of strips. The easiest way is to do it in 2 strips because one long strip can sometimes be a bit hard to handle. So I find that if you do the front part like that, and then the back, and then just trim the edges, and then do the other side in exactly the same way. Then just to smooth in the cut edges, just push it together, give it a little bit of rub with a bit of icing sugar on your finger. Just make sure that it's completely attached. And that's the first stage of that done. Okay, so with your green sugar paste, again, just a little dusting of icing sugar on the surface. And roll it out. Doesn't matter what shape or size it's coming out as. The important thing is to make sure that it doesn't stick to the table. So keep moving it around and add in a little bit more icing sugar as you go. Now again, you don't need it too thick. And basically what you want to get out of this is separate pieces to cover each surface. I'm going to start with these parts down the front there. Basically just a strip. So just get yourself a nice straight edge. And then cut your strip. Push it into the corners. And then down to there. Then we're going to do exactly the same to the next side. Next, I'm going to do the back. Sometimes find it's easier to start with all the block parts, like the rectangles, the strips, and then go on to the harder round bits once you've got used to using it. Right, so that's the easier parts done. Now we're going to do the slightly trickier parts of the front of the driver's carriage and the front of the engine. First of all, what you need to do is have a rough idea of the height. Just mark that gently with your fingers on there. Just another mark there and another mark down. Then you've got a rough idea of the exact size that you're cutting. Then the tricky bit, you need to be that much in to go around the arch part. So just bring that, a little mark on your icing there. Same on that side. And then a rough idea of the height of the arch, which will probably go to about there. And then cut the arch shape round. So now we're going to cover the front of the train. Just place it on and gently push it into the corners. What you can use is a smoother, which you can get from any sugar craft shop, just to push it into the edges. What you're going to need for something to get into the little nooks and crannies is a craft knife. So just use that to trim there and there. Trim from where the slant starts backwards, and then you can remove that. Now we want to trail this just down the side until it meets the bottom. Same on the other side. And then finally all you need is the arch for the front. Now you can spend a bit of time just tidying everything up, all the joins. Make sure you get the bits of buttercream that might have come through off. So the next step is step 11, which is basically putting all the decorating and detailing onto the cake to make it look a bit more like a train. So just roll out a small amount of the black icing. And I'm going to be using this for doing the little detailing, the windows, any bordering. You can use the bordering to cover up any little patches that you might have missed. So I'm just using a piping tube just to cut out the small circles. Just to go on the front of the train. Like that. Now for the things like the borders and the detail, rather than cutting, I'm going to roll a long sausage of the sugar paste. Alternatively, you could use licorice laces to do this if you're doing anything in black. Start off getting your sausage to roughly the size that you want it, and then just even it off with a smoother. Always make sure you've got a nicely sugared surface, otherwise it will be sticking. And just pop the border on like that. Trim the end off. And then if you just give it a spray with the water. And just brush the excess icing sugar off. I'm also going to do one around the front. Okay, and what you can do at the same time is just use a little bit to cut some little pieces, odd shapes. Just to pop in the back. Now what I'm going to do is just do a little square . Just there for the window. A little squidgy widgy bit of the black there for the door handle. And then just where you put the panels in, just kind of make them a little bit deeper. So you've got the drawer to the driver's carriage there. And if you want, once you've got the square of the window, okay, there we go. So now I'm going to cut the wheels just out of a slightly larger circle than I did for the little windows, and just cut off one edge. Okay. I'm just going to roll out a small amount of pale icing now. Doesn't matter about the colour because we are going to paint it silver a bit later on. You just want a small circle cutter and then place it on the front like that. Pop that on the front like so. Just put some indentations along. So now I've got some edible silver paint. It's special silver paint which obviously you can eat. Available from most cake decorating shops. There's a few different brands on the market. You need to give it a good stir. And then just paint it on the metal grill. And that's how to make a train cake.